It's another live hog out. Plenty of cricket. Australia beating Namibia and Pakistan just getting over Canada. But the big game is USA taking on India today. That's what we're going to talk about mostly. So let's see what I've got on after the break. Now, we've had a few big upsets throughout the tournament, and there was one big one today. Nepal drawing with Sri Lanka. Yes, it was a washout, but Sri Lanka out of the tournament. But Canada taking on Pakistan. There are a couple of quick talking points I want to talk about here. Babar Azam, he's not happy with his bowlers. He's getting frustrated with Haris Rauf not executing the Yorker, especially on that New York wicket, where it's easy to drive. And also Shahan Afridi with the new ball against Johnson yesterday. He was just too full for too long. Too many boundaries from the Canadian opening batsman, which got the momentum going. And Canada, if they were going to beat Pakistan, they had to do it with the in the power play and the first 10 overs, really take the game on and try and get to 106 by the end of the innings. And they did that because Pakistan would have held them up in those final overs. So Babar Azam not happy with Shaheen Afridi and Haris Rauf. He's showing his emotions. When they get hit for four, he's giving it the, what are you doing, boys? You've got a bowl there. You can't do that as a captain. So you can see the panic with Pakistan right now. So Babar Azam, great player, but just showing a little bit of panic out at the moment. And Curtin run out yesterday. Curtin batting with Johnson, that would have been a big moment. The run out there cost Canada the game because he's got a lot of talent. He can score on both sides of the wicket, and he's hit a few boundaries in previous games. If he was out there a little longer, then Canada would have put on around about 120, 130. Pakistan really struggled with the bat. I love the way that the Canadian bowlers controlled the power play. That's where I thought the game was going to be won and lost for Pakistan. And the whole thing with Canada, I think they won this game as such on a morale side of things because they scored more boundaries in the first 10 overs than what Pakistan did. They had the ascendancy there. So well done to Canada, the way they performed against Pakistan. There's one other game that happened this morning that I want to talk about. Australia taking on Namibia. Australia won the toss, elected to bowl first. What they wanted to do was try and get the game over and done with as quickly as possible to give themselves a bit of a rest, but also to show the rest of the tournament that they mean business. So well done to Australia today. They are going to be the team to beat now with what I've seen over the last week or two. Now, let's get on to the big game tonight. Let's not waste time because we got Juggin from Washington, D.C., and it's 2:30 over in the morning there. So thanks, Juggin, to getting on board here. And we've got someone from Nepal who's followed me all the time, Atal Baral, coming up as well. But India versus the USA. Let's quickly go through the talking points. The first talking points that I want to bring up is the USA top four against the three quicks from India. Taylor has got a lot of talent. We've seen Patel playing pull shots against the Pakistan quicks. Goss batting out three, awesome. And Aaron Jones, a bit of a power hitter from Queens in the coming in at the number 4 spot. They are going to be tested by the swing of Arshdeep Singh, the hard length from Siraj and Bumrah, just bowling his quality stuff. But if they can get through the power play with only one wicket down, they can cause a little bit of nervous energy in the Indian camp, because if they can get through unscathed with the three quicks of India, then they can try and take on the spin of Axar Patel and Jadeja in those middle overs. And what I mean by that, they've got wickets in hand where they can go a little bit harder. So it's up to these four quality USA batsmen to take on the three quicks there. The next matchup that I'm really looking forward to is the new ball bowling of Ali Khan and Netravaka. Both of them have South Asian heritage. Ali Khan from Pakistan and Netravaka from Mumbai in India. He had a taste of the under-19s. He pulled it away because he knew that thought that he wasn't going to play the big stuff with India, so he thought he would go into his studies in the USA. And now he's on the big stage playing for the USA against his heroes. Now, these two bowlers, if they can get early inroads on this New York wicket of Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and get Pant, who's in fine form at the moment, early, then all of a sudden, the middle order of India, who haven't done that much in this tournament, might be a little vulnerable. And this is where USA can expose India and bring themselves into the contest a little more. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. Both of these bowlers hit good lengths. Netravaka with his swings, just got to make sure that he doesn't do what Shaheen Afridi did yesterday and go too full. He's still got to try and hit the top of the knee roll so that the ball has a little chance to seam off the wicket as well. And he might be able to get both Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli out early. It's going to be a tough contest. I'm looking forward to it. The next talking point that I want to bring up is Jasdeep Singh. He's the tall, quick from America. He bowls in the power play, but and out the death as well. Now, he's born in Queens. He's raised in the USA. He has that Indian heritage. He's got a lot of oomph about him. I love the fire with him. He's got a bit of a stare, and he wants to be in the contest. He means business. The only thing that I worry about with Jasdeep Singh is his emotions getting in the way. Just gets overexcited, and sometimes that enthusiasm just takes away from his game plan. So if he can just control those emotions and just hit a good length because he's tall and he gets a little bit of bounce, hitting that good length, he might be able to do some damage as well today. So Jasdeep Singh is probably the little weak link for the USA tonight, but if he can get it right in those good areas on this New York wicket, watch out. The next talking point is Virat Kohli. We brought him up at the start of the show. Bit of a form slump, you could say here, but I wouldn't be too worried, Indian fans, if I was you. He's just come off the IPL. He arrived late in the USA because he's having a little bit of time with his family, just a little bit of a break because he had a big IPL. And he's had a bit of a slow start, but when it comes to the Super 8s and the big games start to add up, he's going to be there. But he would like to find a little bit of touch against the USA tonight. And for the benefit and for the promotion of the game in America, if Virat Kohli can do his business against the USA, he gives the USA bowlers a good lesson, but also he brings the best spectacle that you can of the game in America. And that's one of the greats of the game, doing his business. So watch out for him just finding a little bit of touch tonight. I don't think he's out of form. It's just the mental aspect of it. He's waiting for those bigger games where he really stands up. And the final talking point is Rishabh Pant. He's just a genius behind the stumps. I just find that he's got more energy behind the stumps now than what he did before the accident. He's got a new lease of life. That accident has brought something new out of him. Yes, he was acrobatic beforehand, but he's just loving the opportunity of playing cricket again. And you can see it in his batting as well. Just the live wire where he's taking those risky shots and he's really showing what he's capable of, and he's adding a difference to the spectacle of the game with the way that he plays. He's not one of those conventional players. He's great on the eye, but he's going to be a big part of tonight's game. He's done well in the last two games, playing that unconventional brand of cricket. Can America match him tonight? And if he gives an early chance, they've got to make sure that they take that chance from Pant, because at the moment, he's the one in full form. He's the player that you've got to get. So Rishabh Pant, can he continue the momentum tonight and for the rest of the tournament? Rightio, that's enough from me. How much time did I spend there? 9 minutes 35. Sorry, Juggin, who's in Washington. He's going to join us now. It's 2:30 in the morning over there. And we've got Atal Baral. And Atal, you're on mute. Just make sure you get off the mute button there, mate. Good to have you on for the first time. You've been a follower of mine from the very start, and it's great to put a face to the fingers that you write on social media. So, welcome, guys.
Thank you so much, sir, for having me here.
That's good. That's good. Now, I'm just going to go quickly to Jagan because Jagan is over in the USA. And you've been doing a bit of research, and that research is going to continue. And I'm looking forward to when it comes out. But you're saying that there's a lot of talent over there, Jagan, in the juniors.
Yeah. Hey, good to be on your show again, Brad. Nice to meet you, Atul, as well. Brad. I've been, checking out some local leagues and stuff, and I can see a lot of emergence of young cricket talent in the USA, right?
Yep.
And one thing I'm very sure this World Cup is going to do is probably going to encourage a lot more kids to get out to the park and put in the hard yards, and become the cricket player that they would like to be in the future. Given that there are so many global leagues all over the world, and with the major league cricket had its first year, not a bad first year, I would say. And I think we're going to have the second year pretty soon. So I think a lot of kids and parents, of course, are going to be very encouraged to take up to this sport very much like any other sport that they would in the US.
Yeah. You're doing this research because you're a commentator as well over in the USA as well. And you'll be looking forward to the next opportunity to do that in the local leagues as well. So that's a great little bit of insight there. American cricket is going to take off after this particular tournament. There's a lot of noise out there, and I'm absolutely loving it. What about you, Atal Baral? What are you liking about the USA?
It's USA. I'm liking USA cricket, especially their captain Monang Patel. He has been playing really well. And just hang on, I think someone has just bumped here.
That's all right. You can sort that out. Now, you guys, who's got the first question for me? Jagan, I'll go with you because it's early in the morning for you.
Oh yeah, it's almost going to be 3 a.m. in the morning. So, but true to the red. I don't know if you can see my shirt. True to the red, white, and blue.
Yep.
And those little thing that I got for your show from Walmart last night.
Awesome.
I spent like $3 on it, Brad. So I'll send you the invoice. So, my question to you is: I know it's almost 10 days since the World Cup got underway. What are your initial thoughts, and did you expect the upsets like USA beating Pakistan coming your way so early in the tournament?
No, I did not expect. I did not expect these upsets to be happening throughout the tournament. It was a huge surprise for me, and that's a good thing because we want the game to be promoted globally around the world, and especially in the USA market. Now, a lot of people are saying the US have got a lot of expats there from India and Pakistan. There's only a couple that have been born in those particular regions. They've moved over there to live in the USA. So they want to play cricket, but they've also realising that they're not going to make a living out of cricket in India. They've decided that they're going to go and study. So they've put their lives on hold or taken a huge risk. So they're American citizens now, as far as I'm concerned. So they deserve to be playing for the USA. But the good thing about the USA is that they've got a lot of talent that are born and bred there. And they have all surprised me. The likes of Jones and Jasdeep Singh, even though they've seem to have backgrounds from cricketing nations, they were born in America. So for me, USA, a big surprise with the way that they've done it. But watching them and their talent that they've got, now I'm seeing it. It's not such a big surprise. I think the other thing that has been good in this particular tournament is the wickets that are being produced. They have helped bring the associate nations closer to the test playing nations. I think it's vital that happens because you want to give them a little bit of hope. All of a sudden, Canada, who nearly beat Pakistan last night, there's going to be a bit of talk over there about in Canada. Hopefully it grows the grain there as well. And you've got America and Canada playing against each other. So there are some surprises there. And I'm glad that the surprises have been America and Canada, because I think that particular part of the world is a growing region. And I think the ICC are going to push this forward a little bit more right now. So that's a good question. Yeah, good question. I'm surprised in that area. So they're the two teams that have surprised me. Yeah. Oman also surprised me as well with their first game against Australia. I'm glad they put us on the back foot and gave us a wake-up call, because if that catch of Marcus Stoinis was taken, the first 6 that he hit, where Ayan was running back, took the catch, great catch, but hit his head on the rope. If that was taken, Oman were very close to having a big upset there. So, I'm very happy with all that. That's a good question. Atta Barao.
Yes, sir.
Time for you to ask your question. First time on Hog Out.
Okay, so my first question is, should India play King Kohli at number 3 and allow to unleash the young blood and allow to unleash Yashasvi Jaiswal in the 11?
No, I don't think so. I think Kohli and Rohit Sharma have to open the batting. With the way that the game is going now, and with where India are going to be playing in the Super 8s over in the West Indies, you need that power hitting down the lower order. So Jaswal lost a bit of form for me in the IPL. Yes, he made a few runs, but his technique has lost its shape. He was leaning back rather than leaning forward and hitting through the ball. So for me, he was over hitting the ball, and I don't think he was probably ready for this T20 World Cup. If I was going to bring a player in, it might be Sanju Samson for Dubai on this New York wicket. But where I've been listening to the interviews from the Indian camp, they're wanting Dubai in that middle order, because when they go over to America, he's going to be playing a big part there. And he bowls these little dibbly dobs, where little cutters as well, where he might be handy. But I understand where you're going with that. I'm just going to go to Anupam just on the side here. So we're going to go one question each and then one from the comments on the side. So we keep these guys involved as well. Do you think Pakistan were conservative with their run chase against Canada? I don't think they were conservative with their run chase against Canada. Yeah, I do think they were conservative with their run chase against Canada. But I'm going to give the Canadian bowlers credit there, because they bowled in the right areas. One thing I was worried about, Gordon and Hydra. I've just got to go back to my notes. Hylager. Those two particular bowlers, I was worried about their length. I thought that they might be a little bit too short, but yesterday I thought they got the ball in the good areas for the number of times that was required to put pressure on Pakistan. So I'm going to give the credit to the Canadian bowlers last night, but I think Pakistan probably could have taken a few more risks to try and get that run rate into shape if they want to try and get back into this tournament. All right, Jagam, we'll go back to you.
You spoke a little bit about the cricket pitches or the playing conditions. And I just want to ask you this question. I'm sure it's a talking point about the wickets in New York, especially those drop-in wickets from Adelaide. Supposedly they went to Florida and then came to New York. And I know we all, coming out of IPL, everybody complained about like 10, 12 runs being scored an hour.
Yep.
And we spoke about parity. We spoke about the impact player rules. Should it be there or not there? From there, we just come and play a World Cup in a city where we have never played cricket, at least international level cricket. And here we are, we have a strip that has, teams like India and Pakistan not being able to score more than 6 runs or over, right?
Yep.
This feels like, if this T20 was played way back in the 70s and 80s, these are the numbers you would have seen, right? not in
Yep.
2024, right? That leaves you with a serious question that I have to ask you about, right? Did you think ICC may have flawed somewhere, right, with how they approached this, especially with the drop-in wicket? Was there an opportunity? I do not know, or if I don't know if I can get the answer from you. Was there an opportunity for ICC to have mocked this exactly 1 year, right, by dropping in a similar pitch at New York City around the same time of the year to test it out and to see how it behaves? Because right now we are forcing the bowlers to bowl from the 6 to 8 meter length, right? Nothing shorter, nothing fuller, right? And you have an outfield that where the ball hardly travels to the boundary, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand everybody wants to bring cricket to the Big Apple, right? And
Yep.
I think it's not a good advertisement to the sport. And everybody talks about the wicket getting better with each and every game. I haven't seen signs of it. So,
Yep.
what is your take on it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think one thing I think the ICC may have been able to do was get those wickets prepared a lot earlier in Florida. I think the other thing that we do have to ask is, or have to find out from the ICC is, what were the restrictions of getting those wickets into that New York area where it is now? Did the council have some rules and regulations on there that they weren't allowing that to happen? If that was the case, well, the ICC didn't have any room to manoeuvre. So that's one aspect of it. But I think they could have prepared the wickets a lot earlier. There has been a lot of research. We've got plenty of drop-in wickets around the world right now where we can learn from the development of those particular wickets. So they might not have had them prepared long enough. So that's a big question. Also, the outfield's pretty slow. I agree with you there. It's probably not the best spectacle for Americans because they like to see baseball with the ball being hit out of the park. Probably would have wanted to see more of that. But one thing I like about it is that it brings a bit of a different perspective to the game. So you've seen run rates of 10 over in the IPL, but now you're seeing run rates of 6 here in America. One thing that I really have enjoyed is that it's brought the running between the wickets back into the contest and fielding, throwing back in the contest to try and get those run outs. So you've got to take those risks between the wickets. I think that's one aspect of the game which has been lost with the high run rate and the high boundary scoring, because I think fielding's a great aspect of the game. And I think if you look at the game last night between Pakistan and Canada, Johnson, who had to play but has a knee injury, wasn't able to run between the wickets, and that was the reason why Curtin got run out. He thought there was a run there, but he realised he's injured and he wasn't going to be able to make it, so he sent Curtin back. So that's where Canada might have lost a bit of the game last night as well, the running between the wickets. So it's not the ideal spectacle, but I think for cricketers, for cricket lovers who have watched the IPL, it's just given a bit of a different feel for the game now, and it's good to see the bowlers having a little bit of a little bit on the batters out the other end. But I would have liked the totals to be at least 130, 140, not 106, not 120, and the good nation is struggling to chase those runs down. It's a good point that you bring
for
up.
Eight and a half runs over.
Yeah.
160, 170 probably is a nice enough number to put it on the board for teams to chase down.
Yeah, exactly right. I like to have a mixture of games between 125 and 200. If you get the bulk of your games between 50% of your games between 140 and 180, that's good. But you want the other 50 of the games to be on the spectrum of low scores and high scores. I think some of the best games I've watched in cricket are those low scores where teams have been able to defend it. Yeah, we've just got to make sure we get the mix right. Atal, your point, please. Yes.
My next question is, what should be the approach for the batters in this World Cup? Should they play according to the condition, or they should play with intent no matter what?
I think when you've got a team like India, Pakistan, Australia, the top teams, I think one of their openers has to go hard at least, if not both openers. But you've got a batsman somewhere along your list that can play conservatively. So let's say India, I'd have a number 4 like Sanju Samson that can turn the game around and slow things down if need be, if you lose 2 quick wickets. So for me, you've got to be aggressive at the top, especially against the new ball, especially when the field's in. So I'd like to see a little bit more aggression out the top, and more risks being taken with a conservative player in the middle order, just to give you a little bit of balance there. I think you've got to take the game on. We've seen that in the IPL. We've seen Australia take the game on against England, and also Namibia today. They didn't want to hang around. They wanted to take the game on, and they wanted to play the game that they want to play going forward in the tournament. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think we've got to take the game on. That's a good point. Good point. I think there's been a little bit too it's been a bit too conservative in these games. All right, we've got Niels Larson here. Do these teams respect each other? Is it real venom between them? You could be talking about India and Pakistan here. Those two teams do respect each other. I think with the associate nations, I think the big playing nations, the players there, realise that we're trying to promote the game around the world, and there is a lot of respect there. And I think the test playing nations that do get paid a lot as well have to respect the commitment that these players are putting in, because they have to work as well as play. They've got to take time off work and time away from their families to be able to try and qualify for the T20 World Cup. So there is a lot of respect there from the test playing nations, what the associate nations are trying to achieve. And there are moments where test playing teams are trying to give tips to opposition teams as well. So I think it's a great aspect, and we're seeing the likes of USA start to lift, Canada with some good performances, as well as the Netherlands, I think, and Oman as well. Oman has been a big surprise for me, and I think there's a lot of upside in that particular region, where we're trying to play a few tournaments in the UAE and that particular area. We've got to try and promote the game there as well, because there's a lot of expats from Southeast Asia in that region that would like to have their kids the opportunity to play international cricket. So players that are getting paid a lot have got a lot to do to put back into the game, and the way that they can do that is by treating the associate nations with respect with what they're doing. So there is a lot of respect there for each other. Yeah, no, great point there, Niels. Jagan, let's go to you.
So, on the same point, the respect, the associate nations and whatnot, I hate to call any of these teams minnows, because seeing them do so well so far, and I'm sure we have a few more surprises. I don't even want to call upsets anymore. Surprises coming our way. And I want to ask you this question, do you think the global T20 leagues may have played a big role in, some of these players from emerging teams and associate nations, right? Showing up well? Because, when I go look at the profile of some of these players, they are playing either the Caribbean Premier League, or they played league in the Middle East, and Major League Cricket, to say the least, right? And I'm sure none of them have been part of IPL, right? So the subset question would be, do you see a roadmap for these guys to go play even more bigger leagues like Big Bash and IPL and so on and so forth? But more particularly, my question is, do you think the global T20 leagues have played any role in the player development and the kind of show that these guys have been putting on the park day in and day out?
Yeah, I think they have been. I think the UAE League is going to help in that particular region as well. I think you might find that there's a few other leagues in that particular region as well. So watch out for the development of cricket in for Oman moving forward. If I'm looking at some young talent now, Akib from Oman, he's one that might get picked up in an IPL team, a bit like Labuschagne from Nepal. I think with the USA team, Netravaka might get an opportunity in the IPL and other leagues as well. I think these particular players have to make a big decision whether it's going to be work or cricket as well, because it's a huge risk to go and play these leagues. But I think T20 leagues around the globe should be pushed to have at least one associate player in their list to be able to help develop their skills, and that associate player can go back to their nations and help develop the game there as well. So with all these leagues, yes, there will be talent out there that they'll be after, but I think there should be a push that there's money set aside from each team where they bring someone from a certain region as a development player moving forward, because it's important. We've seen how close the games can be. We've seen the excitement that it has created here. We've seen the talk that it's created as well. I think it's a good thing for cricket that the test playing nations are being put under pressure. Yeah, good question, that one. It's a thoughtful question too. Atal?
Yes, sir.
Yep, let's go. What's your question?
Yeah. It's now quite a controversial question, sir.
Oh, dearie me.
We have seen some upsets in this tournament so far, isn't it? And
yep.
Which has been your favorite upset, or let's say which upset has raised your eyebrows?
For me, Oman against Australia raised big eyebrows for me. That's the first time I've actually been scared for Australia being beaten. I don't. The surprise for me was USA beating Pakistan, but now I'm not so surprised. So that's probably the biggest one for me, because the USA are about to go through to the next game. It's a pity that Scotland and England didn't finish their fixture. I think that would have been a bigger upset as well, and I would have liked to have seen Scotland beat England in that scenario, because England looked a little bit underdone. England looked as though they were just going through the motions there. And Scotland are a team that you can't go through the motions with. So, and I was disappointed that Nepal didn't play Sri Lanka today. It got washed out because that could have been an upset as well. But the USA is a big upset, and Canada pushing Pakistan right to the limit was also a big upset as well. So I really enjoyed that, and we could be in for a big upset tonight. Sorry, Indian fans, if you're watching. Now, Tasha, yes, Jargon, fly that flag. I'm going to go to Anapan, India, USA, or Pakistan. Which two of them do you think will reach the Super 8s? Can you wave that flag again, please, Jargon?
And I got two for you. Not one.
Well, that's going to be one. That's going to be one, and I think India will go through. I think USA, I think their big game's going to be against Ireland in a couple of days' time. I think if we're looking down out Florida, there's a lot of rain there, and I think it's on a Friday that they're playing against each other. And I think that's the only day on the weather forecast where it's not there's no rain. The rest of the days seem to have 100% rain. So watch out for that. Okay, Jargon, have you got another question?
Yes, I do. So I just want to go back to the last question that I asked you about, these players from the emerging leagues playing, global T20 leagues and their prospects of playing an IPL. Before the start of this tournament, I had this, funny idea that I shared it with my friends, and I got ridiculed for that. So one thought I had was, how about an IPL having an exclusive team comprising of players from associate nations, right? And to just give a twist to it and add 4 Indian players to the playing 11, right? If I know that's not a possibility, it is not BCCI's job to promote cricket in USA or in so on and so forth. But BCCI has already been, getting 4 players in every single team playing the IPL, right? But do you think ICC can come up, or I do not know what role ICC also has to play, but is there any novelty to that suggestion? Do you think, something of that sort could potentially develop down the road? Because you having played the sport at the highest level, I'm for sure there is a lot of confidence that as a player that you would get when you be in the dressing room, right? When you share the dressing room with the likes of, Matthew Hayden and, Shane Warnes and the Waugh brothers or whoever that is, right? Why can't these players get such opportunities, right? And at that point of time, they wouldn't mind quitting the Oracle job. I'm sorry, Larry Ellison, but I'm saying that.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of merit for what you're saying there. Big merit, and I think one thing that the ICC might think about doing or could think about doing is doing what happens in the West Indies, where the West Indies are made up of different countries or different islands, plus Guyana on the mainland, is have the associate nations join together where they set up a squad where they go around and play test cricket against the test playing nations, or maybe start off with playing a lot more one-day internationals against the test playing nations. Then all of a sudden they're getting a little bit of exposure. Then they go back to their countries and help development of cricket there. So what you're actually doing is paying them to go and play international cricket, but you also give them a bit more of a wage as well to go into the schools and promote and try and develop younger kids coming through as well. So the ICC might be able to think of something like that. And Jagan, that is a real good thought. It could be something that's having an American team in the IPL might be of use right now to promote the game there. I think I don't think they'd have an opportunity to win the title, but playing against a team full of Indians with 4 overseas players in that lineup, it's going to give them better exposure and it's going to develop the game quicker and give them skills or upskill them a lot quicker than what they are at the moment. So if you want to push the game in America, you've got to look for other avenues to be able to develop the players. So, although your suggestion might sound silly to people, I think the BCCI, if they want to push the game in certain areas, I think there might be an opportunity to be able to do that. But the one thing that you probably have to do, will have to get a sponsor to be able to help bring that type of team into that competition. Good question. Atta, have you got one more?
Yes, sir. One more question. And our next game, that is Nepal's next game, is against the mighty South Africans. And what should be our players' mindset before heading into this game?
Just go out there and have fun, absolute fun. And you know that the South Africans are going to bowl on a good length. So just give yourself a little bit of room and just try and take on the bowling and hit through that good length. But watch out for the Yorker as well. And if they bowl a short one out the body, all you've got to do is duck. Don't take on the pull shot. But there'll be plenty of scoring opportunities. But just go out there, have fun. You're a small cricketing nation, and there's plenty of upside to have a lot of fun there. And you've got Lamashane as well, who's had a lot of experience around the globe. He can pass some of that knowledge on as well. But at the end of the day, it's just having that experience against those test playing nations. And I said something. I was on Star Sports in India today, and and we're talking about Harmeet Singh, the off spinner, and he's from the area where Bishan Bedi is. And I mentioned back in the 70s, international teams used to come to Australia, and country cricketers here in Western Australia, the best country cricketers used to be brought together to play a warm-up game against these international teams. And there was a lot of talent there in the country. And Bishan Bedi played against my dad in one of those games.
Wow.
And I still remember having a photo with him as a 5-year-old. But the joy that Dad had playing against that Indian team, and you could just see his eyes light up, thinking, "I wish I had the opportunity to leave the farm and go to the city and play." You could just see that in the back of his mind. But you can see the joy with the Americans as well, with the way that they talk about playing India tonight, and that's what the Nepal players would be like as well. They'd be really excited to play it. And I'll share a story about Bishan Bedi. I'm a 5-year-old. He's got me in his arms, holding me, and he's got the turban. Now, I'm not aware of cultures out this stage. We weren't as multicultural back in Australia as we are now. And I said to Mr. Bedi, that hat's not going to protect you from the sun here in Australia. So, and the great thing about it is I met Mr. Bedi, or Bishan Bedi, back in 1996 when I first toured Australia, and he came down the nets and helped me out down there. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy, and sorely missed to the world of cricket. It was just great to have those stories to share. Tushar Bagh. USA bad pitches is the only downside of this T20 World Cup. How much cricket popularity is going to reach this World Cup? I think the popularity of the T20 World Cup has really grown in the areas that the ICC and cricket boards want it to grow. America's a big market, so it's great. I don't think there's too much downside with the pitches in the USA, because it's brought the teams closer together and it's allowed them to be competitive. I think if we had a flatter wickets where the powerhouses were able to play a more aggressive game, that might have taken the contest slightly askew. So I'm very happy with the wickets. The ones that I'm disappointed about is probably in the Caribbean. The Caribbean have had plenty of time to prepare wickets that have been there for a very long time. They knew that this tournament was coming, and they probably have let the competition down a bit, especially when it comes to the finals. And you might have India and Australia, or India, Afghanistan, South Africa playing on a slow, low wicket, where it doesn't allow the ball to come onto the bat as well as it should be. And there'll be a lot of these cutters cutting deliveries as well. So that's probably where I'm a little bit upset with the pitches that are in the Caribbean. Not so much in the USA, because it's been quick. And we're taking the game into New York, which is an area that doesn't play too much cricket as well. So I think we're making big inroads as the game of cricket. Now, Jagan, we'll go to you again, please.
So, speaking of this emergence of these associate nations, what do you think is the key to expedite their growth in cricket? And would you say money is a big component? If the answer is yes to that question, do you think US and Canada in particular, because of their financial power, do they hold an advantage over other nations? Because for example, US, there's an immigration policy in place. Canada has an immigration policy in place. They can attract talents. They can write big paychecks, not only to the players but also to the support staff. And on that note, your fellow countryman from Queensland, Stuart Lyce, is the coach, right? Is he from Queensland?
Yeah, he's from Queensland. Yep.
Yeah. So he's the coach of the USA team, and obviously, when you speak of cricket, the winning culture, everybody talks about Australia, like it or not, right? So, and America's ability to bring in someone like a Stuart Law, right, and groom young talent, right? So, what is the roadmap, for these because I'm sure there's this talk about all these Oman, Scotland, America could soon die down, a week or two after the World Cup is over, right? How do we keep up with this and continue to build, the emergence of more teams?
Well, firstly, I think try and get nations to travel through America before they go to the next destination to play against them for a couple of games, just as warm-up games for the big tournament that they're going to go and play. That would be one. The other thing is getting the right people in those particular areas, those enthusiastic people of cricket that are good coaches to be able to attract younger talent or the younger kids coming through. So for me, it's getting the right people in the right positions, and that's the grassroots. So if you've got good coaches at grassroots cricket, then when those players go to the higher level, you don't have to spend as much on the bigger coaching there. So for me, spend the money on enthusiastic people out grassroots cricket. That's the start. And test playing nations, when they're flying, so for Australia, they go through UAE or Oman. They go into those areas. So Oman have challenged Australia now. It'll be appropriate for Australia just to pop in there and play one game against them on the trip to their next destination. If they can't do that, get their second 11 teams or get a second 11 team to go and play them as well, to give them a bit of exposure and so give that second 11 team a bit of exposure at international level as well, because the USA, Oman are two teams which have impressed me in this tournament that need that help. And it's not really playing against them as a second 11 team is still going to give a little bit of benefit to both sides. So it'll be a win-win situation there. It's a good point, because you can't just let this slip. There's momentum. There's talk about the game. Now, you've got to have that follow-up. If you don't have that follow-up, it's a bit like dating a girl. You date the girl for the first time. If you don't bring her up in the next 5 days, well, you're getting pushed to the back of her mind. You're not going to get that second date. So, yeah, we've got to make sure that we get that second date. America and even Canada has to be visited sooner than later by a promising team. Good question, that, Jargon, and I like the way that you're thinking of the future. Atal, how are you going? One more from you.
This is not a question, sir, but I want to show a picture of Nepali fans in the USA. So if Krishna could put the picture.
They love the game, don't they? They really love the game. Yep. So so just following on from the question that Jargon had, so you're up there in Nepal, and Nepal is just on the border of India, Pakistan, around that area, Bangladesh. Love their cricket playing nations. See, Nepal is probably a team that there's been a bit of talk about joining the first class arena in India, isn't there?
Yep.
Playing first class cricket there. See, that's something, a move that the BCCI hopefully do take, because it's promoting the game in the region, it's expanding it, and it's not going to lose too much momentum in their first class arena, and hopefully it improves Nepal cricket and improves Indian cricket. So again, back to Jargon's point, we've got to promote the game and push it all around the globe as much as possible. So good points there. Jargon, have you got one more?
I absolutely love that idea. I was not aware of that. If Nepal, right, is going to be a part of the Indian first class system, like, even if they play a 4-day Ranji Trophy format, or the Vijay Merchant Trophy, which is a 50-over cricket, or the Syed Mustaq Ali tournament, which is a T20 national tournament. If they can be part of this, that's fantastic. This is part of the globalization, right? And I always feel for BCCI, for all the big bucks it has, and being the big dude out there, or getting things the way that they want it, they got to put something back to this sport, right? It's great to promote all Indian talent, but I think there has to be a commitment on their part to promoting global cricket. This is a fantastic move. I'm all for it, and I'm all for this can happen. Potentially what I said could also happen. Now I'm a little bit more optimistic, so I'm not that dumb.
No, you're not dumb at all. Never ever put yourself down. It's a good phase. Now, Atel, you just put yourself on mute there. Was someone just getting the stumps ready for a game of cricket in the backyard? I heard a little bit of a...
It was my brother playing the backyard cricket with his friends.
Right. That's all right. We won't be too much longer. You can go out there and play in a minute with him. Now, Tushar Barg, he has followed up on what we're talking about. American players should play in the Caribbean T20 League and not in India. Now, Ruban, that is a very, very good point. They probably should have two teams from America, or if the talent is there, try and get one or two teams to go down and play in that Caribbean League. I just think it would add to the tournament and also expand the game into America as well. That's a good point. Ostok, how are you, Hoggy? I'm very good. Now, Anupam, can we expect Australia to rest some key players against Scotland? No, I think a lot of the Australian players will want to be playing that. You want the middle order to be getting a little bit more exposure as well, and you don't want to take Ireland too lightly. I think one thing with the Scotland game, if Mitchell Starc is injured, not fully fit, they'll be trying to use that game to sort out their bowling attack. Will they continue to open with Stoinis and keep Pat Cummins and Ellis to bowl the middle overs with Zampa, where they bowl those cutting deliveries on those slower wickets over there? So that's one thing that they'll be looking at as well. And there's one more here before we get to jargon. USA, bad pitches is the only downside. Oh, I've already gone to that. Sorry about that. Sorry, Tusker. All right, jargon. Have you got another question? I think we're going to wrap it up in about 5 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I got to put this point out here. There's a lot of talks about the USA team being not USA. That's not quite true. So I want to put this out on record for the folks, because I don't want them to think everybody's there, it's an H-1B visa category coming here to play cricket. There are a lot of plenty of local players that are born and raised here, like Stephen Taylor, Aaron Jones, Jasdeep Singh, and there are quite a few other blokes that are born and raised in America. They are Americans by all means, and I don't want people to be disrespectful to that, right? So there is a lot of opportunity for a day is not too far where the team can only be people that are born and raised here. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of immigration these days as well, people moving around the globe for other opportunities. So, it's the same in any job that you have. If you're moving to another country for better prospects and you get that opportunity, you've got to take it. So for me, I think it's good for the game. There's two players there, Jasdeep Singh and Jones. They are born and raised in Queens. Taylor out the top. I know that he's from
Florida, I think.
Yeah, Florida. Yep. And there was someone there from
Alabama. Nash Tosh.
Nash Tosh.
Yeah, he's from Alabama.
Yes. Yeah. So there's plenty of talent there, and we've got to make sure that we nurture it. And as you said, as talked about out there, start of the show, you've been looking at the young talent that's coming through. There's phenomenal talent there. So let's embrace it. And this is the start of something big in America, and it's something special for cricket moving forward, for the longevity of the game and the sustainability of the game. We can't just rely on India, Australia, and England. If we've get a big market such as the USA, who's got the biggest or second biggest following of cricket in the world, who watch it on TV, we've got to hit that market. So it's been a great move from the ICC. And yeah, I think it's a good thing. Anupam's just dropped in there. Your thoughts on Afghanistan's rise in World Cup cricket? I think it's great. I think they've got a lot of talent there. The only thing I worry about Afghanistan in the Super 8s, or if they get to the semi-finals, just their batting depth. I think they rely too much on their top four. And I think Amazi and Rashid Khan, two all-rounders, add to their depth as well. And Nabi on those wickets over there, they're lucky with those three all-rounders, giving them a little bit of depth with both bat and ball. Artel, have you got one more question before we go?
Yes, sir. And Mitchell Marsh, the new Australian captain, how well has he fared so far in this tournament?
I think he's gone really well. I like the way that he took control with a review today. I think he's the glue of the Australian team. He's a bit like Andrew Simons back in our day. He's fun, loving, and he knows, if there's something not right within the team, he knows how to go about it in a fun manner where he lightens up the mood. So that's his role in the team. He's an all-rounder. It's a pity that he just can't stay on the park with his bowling. I just like to see him a little bit fitter and bowl a bit more. But I just love the fact that he's got the opportunity of captaining Australia. I think he deserves it. And I think it goes back to a point that Jargon said earlier, where you said something about yourself where you're not as dumb as you think. I think, it's all about resilience. Mitchell Marsh had a lot of self-doubt there for a while because he was getting a lot of flack from Australian fans. And when you're an Australian, you love your country and your family's put so much into the game of cricket, that's a hard thing to go through. And he's gone through it and he's come out the other end with a lot more respect. He's a quality guy, fun-loving guy, and all he wants to do is have fun, play for Australia, and play with the right attitude. I'm glad you brought Mitchell Marsh up. He's a fantastic human being. It's one of the best families that you could ever grow up around, the Marsh family, because they put people first. They put cricket first, but they're players, or they're people that put the team first. And when I say they put the team first, they generally put the team first. Jeff Marsh was the Australian vice captain. When he got dropped, the captain of Australia there at Alan Border at that time was so peeved off that he got dropped, even though he wasn't performing, because he brought so much more to the team. It's not just about your performances. It's how you bring the team together and help your teammates get the best out of them. Good question there, Artel. I'm glad you brought him up. Now, is there anything else you guys want to finish off with before we go? Because, go for it, Jargon.
Yeah, and I do not know if you have the time to take this question or not. I wanted to ask you, right, at least in the T20 league, T20 format, do you see the bilateral series between countries going away, and this format is mostly played only in the league, and the World Cup every 2 years between nations? Do you see? The way I'd like to see a calendar go is you have the Test World Championship final every 3 years, the 50-over World Cup final every 3 years, and the T20 World Cup final every 3 years. But you play the World Test. You're playing the T20 World Cup this year, World Cup 50-over next year, the World Test Championship the following year. So that's hypothetical, but if you get my drift. So then you're concentrating on that one format when you get to that final series. I think T20 cricket and 50-over cricket, especially T20 cricket, I think we should concentrate more on the T20 leagues. I think these bilateral series are a waste of time. I think nations, especially the test-playing nations, they're working together as a group in the other formats anyway. But if you are going to have the bilateral series, the way I'd like to set it up would be that you have a white ball
So, sorry, you have a test series between two test playing nations. Then in the middle of that test series, you have a tri-series of white ball cricket. And then out the back of it, you have another test series between the host nation and the other nation that played in the white ball series. So basically, everyone's travelled to the same region, and you get a good chunk of the cricket calendar out of the way in that particular period. But that will be tough to do in the calendar that we have. Now, guys, thanks so much for joining me. Jargon, your great work over there in America with the research that you've done with the young talent and the work that you do with cricket in the Combox as well, sensational. Thanks for getting up at 2:30 in the morning.
Appreciate it.
Much appreciated. Atal Baral, great to see you for the first time. You've been following me from the very start, so thank you very much, and good luck to Nepal for the rest of the tournament. And everyone else out there, thank you very much for following me. We have a great time on Hug Out, and good luck to the USA tonight. Hopefully they put India under pressure, but also good luck to India as well. I think it's going to be a close match. USA, the one thing that they've got to try and do tonight is be competitive and stay as close to India as possible and stay in that contest, because the net run rate at the end of this tournament is going to be crucial. So it's going to be a good game. So watch out for that. India to win, but the USA will be competitive tonight. Thanks very much again for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple of days with another Hog Out.